Revealed my bisexuality while sharing childhood photos. My girlfriend didn't believe bisexuality is real and now thinks I betrayed her. My girlfriend, 24F, and I, 21 male, were talking about school and our childhoods a few days ago. I originally lived in England, but she's always been a Scotland girl, so we were comparing. I was showing her pictures of me and my mates from when we were 16, 17, and she noticed that me and one of my friends seemed a little close in some of the pictures. Even noticed that I was sitting in his lap in one of them. So she asked me and I just flat out told her that's my ex because it didn't seem like a big deal to me. It still doesn't. She got a bit annoyed then and asked me why I hadn't told her about this before. I assumed that this she was talking about was my ex, and I said that I hadn't really thought about him in a while because we were teenagers and I've moved away since then. She got more annoyed then and said, "Not that. I mean that you like guys." I got kind of confused then because it's not something I hid from her. She's right, I've never explicitly told her that I'm bi, but I have pins of the flag on several bags. We thirst over male celebrities together. Hell, the night we met I was flirting with her male friend at a pub. This was lighthearted and before we were dating obviously. So anyway, I apologized for not telling her and asked what the big deal was. She's not homophobic by any means, and I didn't understand why she was getting so angry. I told her as such, and she stared at me blankly, appalled, as if I should know. She said didn't like being lied to, which I didn't. She never asked and it never came up. But okay, I get why she was upset at that. It could be seen as hurtful and she's sensitive. We both are, so I understood and apologized. She then said that she couldn't believe I had ever been with a guy and that it was weird. I asked her why it was weird, said that I've seen pictures with her and her exes and that I was okay with it, and she said the ex thing didn't bother her, it's that my ex was a guy. This baffles me more, because again, she's not homophobic, at least I didn't think she was. She asked if I ever thought I was just gay and not bi and I said no, said that I liked girls before I ever knew I liked guys. She said to me she didn't really believe in bisexuality, said that it wasn't a good look for the community or something along those lines. I said, well, I am one, so here's the proof. The argument basically went round in circles at that point until we went to bed. We have really spoken properly since. Whenever I try, she interrupts me and tells me that she can't believe I was gay before her and lied about it, which again, not gay, I'm bi, I like girls, I like her. It's so frustrating to me, because she won't even hear me out and just tells me she feel betrayed that I lied to her and she thinks I'm just dating her because I don't want to fully commit to being gay. She hasn't broken up with me as of yet, but I feel like she's going to if we keep arguing like this and she won't let me get a word in. So Ida? Edit. Okay, nothing has happened with the situation because it's the middle of the night and I posted this a few hours ago, but this seems to have blown up a little bit, so I'm going to clarify and clear things up a bit. First of all, those people who think I'm going to give my girlfriend an STD or are convinced I have AIDS or whatever, fuck off. Genuinely. I'm sorry, I don't like being mean to people, even over the internet, but far too many of you seem to have this thought. First of all, my girlfriend insisted we both take STI tests before we did anything because she got one from a previous partner and doesn't want that to happen again. Second of all of you convinced that slept around with men and contracted some deadly virus. I have never had traditional sex with a guy. The only guy I've ever been with was first relationship with said ex mentioned in the post, and my only other relationship has been with the woman who took my virginity, which the relationship only lasted a month. So stop. Now to clarify some important things. Yes, I know I should have mentioned I was bisexual to her once we started dating, but truthfully, it didn't even occur to me too. I'm a little airheaded and thoughtless. I'm not very good at communicating with people in general and can be quite thoughtless and annoying. Most of my friends back home are queer and a lot of hers are too, from what they all said when I met them for the first time. I've also been told that you can tell I'm bisexual by a lot of people including my own parents. So with all that, it completely didn't occur to me to tell her. I do know though that that isn't really an excuse and that I should have told her immediately in the pursuit of transparency. I am working on my communication skill and knowing when to be more mindful and mention things even if they don't seem important to me. I wasn't trying to hide it, and I wasn't trying to make her guess by leaving little hints here and there. I thought it was obvious so I didn't mention it. Clearly it wasn't and I need to be more mindful. I would never lie to her on purpose to be malicious. You don't do that to people you love. I've been with my girlfriend for almost 6 months. The reason this didn't come up in the beginning of our relationship is because it was quite a whirlwind in the beginning. As in, we met in December and 4 days later she began a week stay at my flat, so we moved quite fast. My girlfriend attends university close by as well as having a job, so we maybe get to see each other over the weekend or maybe a Friday day night, but that's about it. So I like making the most of my time with her so we don't talk about serious stuff all that much. People thinking that I'm going to cheat on her / think that she thinks I'm gonna cheat on her. I hope I've made it clear to her that that isn't something that would happen. I love and adore her so much that it physically hurts when I don't get to see her for over a week. I'm not interested in being with anyone else sexually at all because I'm not in love with anyone other than her. The majority of these comments are calling her homophobic / biphobic and, well, I don't really know what to think about that right now. I need to talk to her properly. She's a very emotional person, which is something I absolutely adore about her, but it does mean when she's angry she lashes out. I need to talk to her about it all and I need to talk to her friends. I'm not throwing this away if she was just lashing out or being ignorant. She's not an unreasonable person. She only knows about my most recent ex because she was asking about a scar on my forehead and I told her the story, which included her. Yes, she does love me and doesn't care about my sex drive or lack thereof. She's not manipulative or gaslighting me, she just lets me know when I've done things wrong, which I like because no one else ever tells when I've done things wrong. I'm bisexual. I'm not gay. She's not a beard. I like guys. I like girls. I love her. If I missed anything, it's because it's 3 a.m. and I'm tired. If you want further clarification, comment and I'll try to answer. Update 1. I hadn't seen or heard from my girlfriend since Tuesday. I sent her the link to this post on Saturday afternoon and told her that once she felt ready, I would like it if she came over so we could talk about it in person. About 3 hours later she was at my flat. She hadn't eaten and it was late, so I cooked and we ate in silence. She didn't really look mad, but she obviously wasn't very happy. Once we'd finished and I'd cleaned up, she told me that she's sorry she has ignored me for 4 days. I told her that it was fine and that she didn't need to apologize as she clearly needed space. I decided to bite the bullet and just get into it. I apologized for not telling her properly. This time, I told her that I shouldn't have assumed she'd just be okay with it because I expected her to. I told her that even if I don't think it's a big deal or that it didn't even cross my mind that I had to tell her, I understood that it was clearly dishonest of me and that I don't really have good excuse of why I didn't. I try to never lie to her, especially about important things, and whilst I don't see it as lying, I now do see that it could be interpreted as that or that I've got things to hide. I told her as such and she told me to stop apologizing. She explained that she'd read my post as well as the comments. I asked what she thought about it. She was quiet for a minute before she told me that she didn't like people calling her homophobic, and that she didn't think she was being that, she just didn't understand how a person could be bisexual. I tried to stay calm because I could see she was overthinking and getting upset. I told her that I don't think she's homophobic either, not as a whole, anyway, and then I tried to explain it to her simply. I didn't want her to think I was speaking to her like a child, or that I was being condescending, but I did have to use simple terms to make sure there was absolutely no room for misinterpretation. I asked her, but you understand how guys can like girls, and how girls can like guys? And she said yes. I then asked, do you also understand how a woman could like another woman, or how a guy could like another guy? And she said yes again. I asked her then why she didn't think it could be possible to like girls as well as guys. She didn't really say anything and I could see the cogs turning in her head. She said that she couldn't see how you could like both, how humans are hardwired to only like one gender, and so if I was saying that I liked guys first, and, by her logic, I could only be attracted to one gender, then I must be gay. I was very confused because I'm not a scientist by any means, but I definitely know that that isn't true. I asked where she'd heard that. She told me an old friend who she met at her old job was a major LGBTQ activist and was explaining things to her. I told her that's not right. She told me it was. I asked what possible evidence she could have for that. She didn't have any, but she said that this friend was deep into the queer community. I'd curse sexuality, I didn't ask, and that I'm not really involved, so she's more inclined to believe this old friend rather than me. I was hurt, of course, really hurt that she'd say this, but I couldn't get mad, cause then we'd both be mad and upset, and we'd be in exactly the same place we were 5 days ago. So I decided to change tactics. I asked her that if I've had a boyfriend, and if I'm not secretive about liking guys, why on earth would I be dating her? I told her that me admitting that I like guys clearly shows that expressing that kind of attraction wasn't an issue for me, so why would I be using her as a cover, and what would be the point of using her as a cover if I was gay first? She told me it's because I was embarrassed. I asked her about what. She said that you like guys. I told her I'm not embarrassed. I asked her if I looked embarrassed at any point on the day all this went down. I asked her if I looked embarrassed now. She, reluctantly, said no. So, I asked her again. I asked her why I would agree to, and actively pursue, dating her if I wasn't attracted to girls. She got mad at this point, but I eventually managed to calm her down again. We took a breather, I went to my room and she went to my balcony, and when we reconvened back in the living room, she asked why I was dating her. I told her because I love her, that's why. I told her that I thought she was funny, and smart, and gorgeous, and that she had so much life in her that I found it a privilege to even be near her, let alone to date her. She told me she believed me, but she still didn't understand. She asked if it was a phase then, in school, and I told her no. I said to her plainly, I'm attracted to girls, and I'm attracted to guys. She asked me if this meant I wanted to date a guy then instead of her. I told her no. She asked if I wanted to date a guys as well as her, and, again, I said no. She asked why I was so determined to be acknowledged as bisexual then. I told her because it's a fact about me, just like that I love books and the color purple, and that I hate the smell of grape-scented felt tips. I told her those were all facts about me too, but they didn't affect our relationship, so neither should this one. I asked why it bothered her so much, beside the whole not believing in my sexuality thing. I said I know it's more than that because you wouldn't have gotten so angry if it was just that. She explained that she thought me telling her was my way of hinting I was going to break up with her. I laughed and asked in what world that would make sense. I had told her because she asked, and that if I was going to break up with her, which wasn't going to happen, then I would have just done it and not been cruel about it or dragged it out. She said that she thought me saying I was bisexual, and her not thinking it was a real thing, Was me trying to take the easy way out, so she got mad. It was almost 2 a.m. on Sunday by the time we got to this point, so we decided to stop and carry on in the morning. When I woke up I was worried and trying to prepare my points in my head, like I do before I say anything important, but I didn't really have to. My girlfriend walked back into the bedroom with 2 mugs. She made me sit up and handed it to me with the promise that she could speak first. I nodded and took the mug. She sat next to me and said that she didn't sleep well, that she couldn't stop thinking about everything. She said she still didn't understand, not really, but that she loves me, and she knows that I love her, and that she's going to try and understand, because she didn't want to lose me or what we have, and that she doesn't like to be ignorant. I thanked her and said I'd send her some resources. We agreed that we would try and push past this, and that we would make sure to tell each other everything from now on, no matter whether it seems important or not. She's taking counseling at her university to try and manage her anger and controlling her emotions. Update 2. Alright, so, a lot has happened in the last few weeks, and I honestly didn't expect life to look like this a month ago. If you'd asked me when I first posted, I'd have said this would probably end with us breaking up, but instead things have gone in directions both weird, wonderful, and, at times, so awkward I thought I would melt into the floor. After the long talk and the coffee, and her promising to try to understand, and me promising better communication, we honestly spent a few days on a weird kind of eggshell truce. She was less snappy, but definitely distant, and I could tell her mind was working overtime. We kept up our normal texts and calls, but sometimes it felt like I was talking to a slightly different person, not bad, just cautious and curious in a way she never was before. Then, last Thursday, something a bit wild happened. We went out to the pub with a few of her uni friends and, completely randomly, one of her friends, let's call her May, came out to our little group as bi. No big party, no drama, just a casual, well, I'm bi, you know, when we were talking about Love Island or something. And my girlfriend, who up to now had never even said the word bisexual out loud without a full body cringe, just went, oh, cool. She didn't so much as flinch. Except, about 2 pints later, she cornered me when I came back from the loo. Did you know about May? She asked, her voice low. I said, no, why would I? She shook her head and said, she just seems so normal. That stung at first until she immediately added, I mean, I always assumed people were. I don't know. You're not what I imagined, and neither is she. It's not like what that old friend told me. We ended up walking home that night, she crashed at mine. Halfway, she stopped in the park and just started firing questions. Do I feel different depending on who I'm with? Do I compare girls and guys I've had crushes on? Was it weird having to come out before? Does my family know? If someone gave me a magic button so I could just be straight, would I take it? I answered honestly, even the awkward have you ever fancied one of my friends, for the record, absolutely not, and the relief on her face was laughable. That night, we fell asleep holding hands and, for the first time since our argument, things felt almost back to normal. But it didn't stay quiet for long. Sunday morning, she plonked herself on my sofa with an armload of books from her uni library, literally, Understanding Sexuality, Queer History in Britain. Bi, Notes for a Bisexual Revolution, and one with a cover that looked like a rainbow had been sick on it. I nearly spit out my tea. I know you said you'd send me resources, she said, but I wanted to try figuring some of it out on my own too. And I told my mom. Her mom, by the way, was apparently confused but not mad. She just wants to know if it's contagious. Her mom's words, not mine, which my girlfriend found hilarious and only a little embarrassing. A few nights later, I met up with her and May went into full wise queer mentor mode. They talked about everything and I mostly listened. We wandered into the topic of biphobia, even inside the LGBTQ+ community. My girlfriend admitted she'd kind of taken her old friend's word as gospel because she felt left out, so didn't want to look stupid. May, bless her, absolutely roasted her for that, but kindly. My girlfriend apologized for being stubborn with me and admitted, I hate being wrong. But I was. Honestly, I half expected the story to end there, but things kept surprising me. My girlfriend signed up for a queer theory seminar at her uni. She even asked if I wanted to come along, as her token educational bi boyfriend. She said it with air quotes, but she was genuinely excited, and that was a first. The first seminar was last Friday, and to my complete and utter horror, I was actually introduced to her class as M's boyfriend. He's bi and we'll be talking about his experiences later. I survived, barely. I got asked what Grindr was like, to which I had to awkwardly explain that no, I hadn't been, that I'd basically been embarrassingly monogamous for a 21-year-old, but the best thing, weird as it sounds, is how all this confusion and embarrassment has made other parts of our relationship stronger. She actually sat down with me one night and just went through a list of things I think you should always tell me, even if you think it's unimportant. Number 1, obviously, was if you ever think you might want to date someone else, you have to tell me and not just leave clues. We laughed, but I took the point. And, because life loves to keep things interesting, my old friend from England, yeah, the ex from the photos that started all this, messaged me after seeing a mutual friend share my post on Facebook. He recognized a story detail and guessed it was me. Cringe, we ended up on a long call, and for the first time in years, talked through what our relationship meant, and how it was the first proof to either of us that we liked guys. I told my girlfriend about the call straight away, sitting on my kitchen counter while she made pasta. She listened, asked if I felt like I'd gotten closure, asked if I wanted to see him next time I visited England. I was genuinely shocked by how okay she was. Last weekend, we went out with her friends, and when someone made a snide joke about bi people being greedy, my girlfriend just shot them the iciest look you've ever seen and said, "You realize my boyfriend is right here, yeah? He's not greedy, he's just himself." Honestly, I nearly cried. Dumb as it sounds, I felt fiercely proud of her. We've had more honest conversations since, not just about sexuality but about everything. Stupid childhood, fears, what we want in the future, whether she'd ever want to move to England with me. When I asked her, tentatively, if she was really okay, she said, "I'm not just okay. I'm proud you trusted me with all of this, even if I was thick about it at first." Then she added, "But you still should have told me, you numpty." So, long story short, my girlfriend is still struggling with not always understanding, but she's actually working at it, and that matters more than just knowing the right words. She's going to counseling. I'm working on being a less air-headed and more proactive communicator. I have a weird but good relationship with her mates now, honorary lesbian, as they call me, which confuses everyone at the pub but I find hilarious. And for the first time, I really feel like I can talk to her about anything, even the hard stuff. Update 3. It's a little surreal how quickly life can flip from passive-aggressive silences to inside jokes and shared Google Calendars. This past month has honestly felt like living an episode of some sitcom where the punchline is always my bisexuality is the least interesting thing about me, but apparently it's the whole plot for everyone else. Which brings me to what's happened recently, because holy hell, a lot has happened. First, a confession. If you'd asked me last year whether I'd willingly stand up in front of a room full of chatty Scottish students and answer questions like, "So, do you think bisexual people are better at parallel parking?" I would have assumed it was a fever dream. But yes, the seminar thing snowballed. Because after that awkward but oddly affirming class, my girlfriend's professor asked if I'd be willing to speak at a college society event for Bi Visibility Day. I was both flattered and terrified. So, naturally, I said yes. Honestly, it was terrifying but actually great. My girlfriend said she's never seen my hands shake that much outside of a roller coaster, but I got through it, fielding everything from "does being bi mean you're more picky?" to "is it true you always sit in the middle seat at dinner?" Scottish humor, undefeated, girlfriend was in the front row, tissues in hand, beaming this proud/grumpy look that basically meant, "Don't get cocky, but also I'm proud of you, you numpty." But the real twist, halfway through the panel, someone in the crowd asked my girlfriend if she'd always been this supportive. She turned red and, without missing a beat, replied, "God, no." I was daft about it at first. And then, in front of about 30 nosy undergrads, she told the short, sweet version of our drama, how she'd believed rubbish about what was real, and how the only thing embarrassing about being bi is that it took me so long to get it. Honestly, it was funny and a little bit mortifying, but in an "I can't believe I'm living this way." I think half the society decided we were relationship goals and the other half were taking notes for cringe TikTok edits. You'd think it might calm down, but then my girlfriend suggested, out of nowhere, honestly, right as I was deep into a book on the sofa, that we go to Glasgow Pride together. She said she wanted to understand more but also to prove to myself I'm not the idiot I used to be. I didn't even want to go at first, crowds and me do not always get along, but in the end I said yes, mostly because the thought of seeing her in a rainbow bucket hat was too good to pass up. If you've never been to a big pride, let me just say it's a sensory overload of the best kind. Loud, colorful, a bit sweaty, and, in our case, very, very Scottish. She ended up in face glitter because a 5-year-old handed her a flag and demanded it. I got caught in a conga line between two drag queens and almost lost a shoe. At one point we were dancing, actually dancing, like real I don't care who sees dancing, and I realized she wasn't looking at anyone except me. Later, when we sat on the grass and she handed me a water bottle like it was a love letter, she squeezed my hand and went, "Mum texted Happy Pride by the way." She wanted to say she doesn't think you're contagious anymore. We both burst out laughing. Here's the weirdest, wildest bit, though, being publicly bi has actually opened up my social life, in ways I never expected. After the uni event, we got invited to a queer book club. Turns out Scottish lesbians have the best literary taste, and yes, I am now the token boy. Her mum started texting me questions about modern romance, God help me, and now wants to take us to an LGBT-friendly folk concert. Still working out what that means, but apparently it involves kilts. My old friend, the England ex, ended up joining a group call with us and two of my girlfriend's mates, mostly so we could compare notes about how terrible high school was and why nobody tells you sex ed is absolutely nothing like real life. Instead of arguments or suspicion, now my girlfriend teases me that my air-headed bi brain is why I always lose my wallet. We talk more about emotional stuff, and she genuinely listens, even when my answers sound like they came from a BuzzFeed quiz. What your favorite crisps say about your sexuality? I'd get barbecue. We bicker over which flag looks best as a sticker. She started calling out biphobia when she hears it, even when it's just her mates ragging her for dating someone twice as likely to have a celeb crush. But, and I think this is important, it's not been a magic change. She had a bit of a wobble, a really bad day last week after a classmate made some gross comments about bi guys being players. She admitted she felt jealous sometimes, and scared one day I'd wake up and realize I wanted something she didn't have. I told her it's not about what anyone has, it's about who we are together, slippery wallet and all. Weirdly, hearing her fears out loud made them less scary for both of us. She still goes to counseling. I still overthink everything and write lists on my phone at 2 a.m. Maybe the wildest thing is how her doubts have sort of become our story, not just a thing we survived, but a thing we learned from together. She jokes that I converted her, and I joke that she dragged me out of the closet by accident. We're visiting my parents this summer in England, and she's already plotting to swap kilts for curry and see if my mum can spot the lesbian energy she insists she now has. So yeah, things aren't just fine, they're a whole new kind of weird and wonderful. My girlfriend's learning, I'm learning. There's still the occasional blurted out question. Last night she demanded to know, if you had to be a bi animal, which would you be? Answer, probably a dolphin. There's still awkwardness about what to share and when. But it feels safe to be awkward now, and honest, in a way I honestly never expected. We're figuring it out, together, one badly parallel parked car at a time. Update 4. Alright, buckle up because if you thought things couldn't get any more absurdly eventful, you'd be as wrong as I was when I told my girlfriend real life drama settles down eventually. I genuinely considered not posting again, but then last night happened, and if I don't write it all down I might explode. So, the backdrop, my girlfriend and I have been, against all odds, doing genuinely well. No fights, steady progress on the communication front, and she's been storming through queer history books, occasionally reading passages out loud with indignant comments like, "Why didn't I know this?" To which I usually reply, "You went to a Scottish high school, love." Her mum's latest thing is tagging me in memes about bi lighting. It's every picture of purple and blue neon she can find, and May, our bi-sage friend, roped both of us into helping with a uni-zine on queer myths. Life was, for 5 minutes, uncharacteristically boring. Then last weekend happened. It started because my girlfriend absolutely insisted, and sort of bribed, me into going to her family's big reunion. In the Highlands, her exact pitch, just survive my aunties, then I'll watch all of Fleabag with you and order actual English Chinese takeaway. Reader, I took the deal. I figured the worst case scenario would be someone asking me about English football, or her gran pestering us about marriage. As far as I knew, only the immediate fam knew about my bisexuality, and I was fully prepared to just avoid the topic as much as possible over potato salad. But of course, things don't go that easily. Within 20 minutes of us arriving, some distant cousin, Kenny, he's a bit of a wind-up, according to my girlfriend asked, beautifully loud and in full earshot of everyone, "So, you're the English boyfriend? Are you one of those bi and LGBT folk M's mum keeps talking about on Facebook?" Cue every single head turning. I was mentally preparing a polite answer when my girlfriend chimed in, smiling, cool as anything. "Yeah, he's bi, and since you're asking, Kenny, that means he likes both men and women." Shocking, right? I didn't know whether to melt or laugh, but her gran immediately asked if there was a support group for people with so many options. I just about choked on my iron brew. After that, it snowballed. 2 of her cousins apparently had side bets going about whether I'd be flamboyant. Her uncle asked if I missed football in England or just the lads. Someone's tiny niece demanded I explain the flag with the purple stripe. My girlfriend, absolute legend, handled most of this with the practiced patience of a kindergarten teacher, but I found myself low-key giving a bisexuality 101 session at the picnic table while teenagers scrolled TikTok nearby. By the end, I was teaching 3 of them how to make origami bi flags out of paper napkins. But here's where it got mad. Later that night, after a bit too much whiskey, my girlfriend's dad pulled me aside. He's ex-army, bit gruff, not a man of many words. Honest to God, I was bracing myself for the standard protective father chat, "Don't hurt my daughter," etc. Instead, he just said, "Em's told me you're bi." Just wanted to say, I was an idiot about that when I was young. Glad she's smarter than I was. Then he told me his own brother, Em's uncle, came out as bi in the 70s but the family swept it under the rug and barely ever talks about him. I'd never even heard this story. He said he was glad things are different now and that Em had someone who'd teach her how to stand up for things. By the end of it, I was genuinely choking up, and he awkwardly patted my shoulder, then went and made us both toasties because that's what you do after emotional chats. But then, the absolute weirdest thing happened. That night, as everyone was heading off to bed/air mattresses/various bits of the floor, one of her younger cousins, non-binary, apparently just out this year, knocked on our door sobbing and just hugged me. Said it was the first time someone in the family ever said actually being out loud wasn't embarrassing. We ended up all sat on our floor, at like 2 a.m., eating whatsits, and talking about weird crushes and coming out and how ridiculous it all feels. For the first time, my girlfriend was fully in my corner, not just with me, but leading the charge. She told her cousin exactly what she'd told me. It's not about who you like, it's whether you get to talk about it, and have biscuits after. She took this role so seriously that, the next morning, she made a point of having a family meeting, which, for them, means everyone crams into one spot with tea. She told her whole extended family, in so many words, that if anyone ever gave her cousin crap for being non-binary or weird or too much, they'd have to answer to her and her bisexual boyfriend. I wish you could see the mix of embarrassment and pride on everyone's face, her included. After that, the weirdness sort of melted away. People started asking us normal couple questions. I wasn't the bi one, I was the English one who can't pronounce lock. Someone even asked my girlfriend for advice on coming out to a grandparent, as if she was suddenly their local queer Yoda. I don't know how to describe it except to say it felt like passing through a storm and coming out, in a place you hadn't expected, not perfect, but warmer somehow. But, because the universe never stops, after that wild weekend, my girlfriend sat me down and said she's been thinking a lot about labels, both hers and mine. She confessed she sometimes wonders about her own sexuality, not because she doubted loving me, but because being open to learning about you has made me realize I never bothered thinking about myself much. She wanted to try going to more queer social events, together, and on her own. We discussed boundaries and how neither of us wants an open relationship. Wasn't easy, but we were honest. She even floated the idea of her joining May at a queer women's group, just to see if she might find a bit of herself reflected there, even if she comes out of it just as boringly straight. That's where we sit now, my girlfriend with a new group chat called Queerly Beloved. No, I'm not kidding, me, fielding random bi-awareness questions from her family, and her mom inviting us both to a LGBTQ+ Kaylee night next month. You get a discount if you wear tartan. We laugh more, talk about the weird family weekend, and the cousin has apparently decided to turn origami bi flags into a business opportunity. May wants us to come to her graduation and bring as much visible awkward joy as possible. Most of all, my girlfriend and I finally feel not just honest but actively proud of each other. She told me last night, as she stuck a purple and pink magnet on our fridge, "You didn't just teach me about being bi, you made me realize I want to keep learning. With you, and for myself." We're still bumbling through it, still arguing about who leaves socks everywhere and whether an Englishman can ever truly like haggis. But there's laughter, and there's trust, and, maybe for the first time, we both know what it means to be loved exactly for who we are.